Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so a plot has been uncovered this week to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Also, the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, determined that the Honey Badger pistol is in violation of the National Firearms Act. So that was enacted. So we're going to find out about that. Going to talk with Edwin Walker with the Texas and U.S. Law Shield. Also, in a TV crew security detail shot and killed a member of a patriot militia doing a rally in Denver, Colorado. Man, a lot going on down there in Denver. It's sad when you have your TV crews need security. That's definitely a problem. So expect to see some more of that stuff happening around the country. All right, because as these the protests grow, as the election comes and goes, definitely, expect to see a little more of that because more people are going to be carrying their guns. There's going to be some people that are going to be upset about the fact that their candidate did not win the election. So some stuff is going to come from that. And speaking of the election, let's talk about, what happens when you walk into a polling place. All right, so when it comes to election, because this week, Tuesday starts early voting. Got to walk into a polling place. You got to go vote. Early voting starts Tuesday. Then election day is in November, the first Tuesday of November. So how do you conduct yourself if you're a gun owner and you're going to a polling location? Well, let's take it like this. All right, so let's say the polling location is your favorite grocery store. Well, you walk into the grocery store. Every other day throughout the year, you have your license. You can carry your handgun inside the grocery store. You can openly carry or conceal carry your handgun in the grocery store. All right, not a problem at all. Now, if it's early voting or election day and you go past that little sign that says no campaigning past this point, you are committing a felony if you take any weapons at all past that point. You're committing a felony, okay? That's 2 to 10 years in jail if you go past that little sign that says no campaigning past this point. All right, we're talking polling locations, and you know that you can actually use your LTC, your license to carry handgun, to actually go vote. You can use that. That's an ID. So you can walk into the poll location, give them your license to carry handgun, and go ahead and select your candidates. But guess what? As soon as you do that, they're actually going to start looking at you, and they're going to say, hey, is this person carrying a gun? And they're going to start checking you out. And if you are taking a firearm in the polling location, you're committing a felony. So don't go past that little sign. Okay, you're not going to get any warnings. There's no sign that says no guns here, anything like that. The only warnings that you're going to get is that, hey, vote for me, election here, el vote is all you're going to get. And that's your only warning. So you see those signs that say, hey, vote here, vote for me, leave the gun in the vehicle. Don't even go past that little sign that says no campaigning past this point. And just so you know, if you want to look it up, that's in the Texas Penal Code 46.03. So check it out.
The way that the penal code states it, isn't it within 100 feet of a polling location?
Doesn't give footage, but you can't go past that sign that says no campaigning past this point.
What if somebody picks the sign up and then moves it further in?
Well, that's what your election judge is for. That election judge is responsible for making sure the signs are in the correct place, and none of that stuff has been moved because they got to check that stuff every single day. What you got? Go ahead, throw it at me.
I thought it was 100 feet.
Nah. We'll ask Edwin to make sure, to verify that, for us. So, yeah, man, I tell you, I get so many different phone calls. I get phone calls from different instructors and stuff like that because it's a lot of information, that's supposed to be covered in a course. And it doesn't matter if you're going to get your license or not. If you're going to carry a gun, even without a license, you're going to carry a gun in your vehicle, whatever, you still need to take a course to learn what the laws are. Because I'm telling you, you make these little mistakes like this. You go to the grocery store, you park within, you pass that little point that says no campaigning past this point. Something happens, you pull your gun out. Guess what? You're committing a felony. That's 2 to 10 years in jail. So don't forget it. Any questions about that? Good. Now, let's talk about this plot that was uncovered this week to kidnap the governor of Michigan. What you got?
Okay, so 13 men have been charged.
13
men have been charged in a plot against the Michigan governor and police. From what I have read and researched, there are 6 men charged in federal court that have been charged with conspiring to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. They're part of a paramilitary group called the Wolverine Watchmen. They're not Proud Boys. They're not white supremacists. They're nothing like that. They're Wolverine Watchmen, part of the paramilitary group. There's a video that was showing one of the leaders of the group saying, Trump is not your friend. They're not, at least this specific individual is not a Trump supporter. And then there were another 7 men in addition to those 6 who were seeking to start a civil war, quote, civil war by storming the Capitol building with armed and dangerous. That was what that plot was, and federal agents foiled that.
And that's crazy. I mean, this is going to be the problem. This is why constitutional carry is not going to get passed in Texas, because little things like this is stuff that will come up when they're in session. They say, hey, this is why you cannot pass this. This is why you're not going to be able to pass that. These are going to be the reasons they're going to bring this stuff up. And that's going to kill it right there. I'm telling you right now. Don't take my word for it. Just wait. When the hearings start, I guarantee you the first anti-gun person that gets up is going to mention this incident right here.
I want to mention 2 more things. So these 2 different sects of people here, the 6 men that were charged for kidnapping and the 7 that were charged with
they say they don't even get along with each other.
Well, it's 2 different groups. I don't know what the second group is, but they say that this was going on for months. There was months of planning going into this, and they actually rehearsed her kidnapping.
Wow.
They really put a lot of effort into this. And one of the men from one of the groups was actually pardoned in Delaware the last year.
For what?
Give me a second. Okay. I'll get back to you. But yeah, it's regardless. It's the reason they did it was because they were saying that she was acting tyrannical, using her powers to shut things down, and that the shutdown orders regarding coronavirus were unconstitutional.
See, this is the problems when you have little rich kids that get involved in politics and you don't get things your way. Things are not going to happen your way. Things are not going to always go your way. But what's going to happen is, you're privileged. Yeah, get rid of that privilege. It's not going to happen your way. What you do is you wait 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you go vote. That's what you do. And that's how you get rid of people that you don't like. You don't like what they're doing, you don't like their politics, then you vote them out of office. You come up with arguments, you debate the issue, and you get them removed from office. That's how you do it. You don't execute a plot that kills someone. Are you people crazy? You're losing your mind. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talkin'.
Hello, this is Gerald Darby, and I'm the Precinct 3 County Commissioner here in Travis County, and you're listening to Come and Talk It.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back, and we're talking about this plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. You mean to tell me you old hags there, plotted a plan to kidnap the governor? You do know they're going to put you under the jail, and that's exactly what you deserve. You don't like what your governor is doing. You get a candidate to run against this person, and you remove them from office. That's what you do. There's no, my goodness, I don't know what this atmosphere is. I don't know what's going on around the country where the president that's in office, you don't like their politics, and people just lose their minds. Whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, doesn't matter what it is, what side you're on. What you do is you vote them out of office. You can't plot to kill someone unless they steal your guns.
It was a kidnapping. It was a kidnapping plot.
Just joking.
It was a kidnapping plot. I don't think they were plotting on killing them.
That's an inside joke.
But regardless, so we talked earlier about how one of the gentlemen was pardoned, and you asked me what the crimes were.
Right.
His name was Barry Croft, 44 years old, from
44.
Delaware. And Democratic governor in April 2019, Democratic governor, which is ironic because he's plotting to kidnap a Democratic governor.
Wow.
Democratic Governor John Carney granted him a pardon for the 1997 gun charge.
So these are a bunch of Democrats that actually plotted this.
For sure. Well,
wow.
Well, okay. I don't want to say for sure, but they are not Trump, pro-Trump, from what I have seen.
Oh, so this is not going to get any no traction.
Come on, man.
No traction. Nothing's going to come from the media about this one, I'm sure.
Well, or they'll spin it and make it look like they're Trump supporters,
right,
which is, I think, what's happening. Or at least that they're right wing, which they could be. I really don't know what their political affiliation is.
But we're going to blame Trump anyway because it's
regardless,
his fault, right?
the crimes that he was pardoned for were from a series of crimes between 1994 and 1996, including assault, burglary, theft, and receiving stolen property.
Bunch of criminals, bunch of thugs.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow, you're going to kill the Michigan governor? Really? I just don't get this.
Gonna kidnap her.
Kidnap,
kill, whatever. This is just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is getting out of control. It's getting out of hand, and you're gonna, whatever you're trying to get done, it's gonna kill it for whatever, for everyone else.
Well, it depends how
Whatever your
the media.
politics are.
It depends how the media spins it, right?
That's true too.
So if they say, "Hey, these are a bunch of Trump supporters trying to kill the governor of Michigan," then it's going to make them look bad. But the fact of the matter is, one of the gentlemen had recorded a video on his webcam. And he said
they weren't even secretive about this. This was like a Facebook group, right? They're all doing this online.
Well, it's a militia.
Yeah, they're all talking about it online though, on social media.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even secretive about it.
Well, one guy had said he had made a webcam video and he was saying, "Trump is not your friend. We don't like Trump, blah, blah, blah." And he had an anarchy banner on the wall behind him. So these are definitely not your establishment or mainstream conservative, neocon, neoliberal, anything like that. And I would go out of my way to say that they maybe are possibly Boogaloo affiliated, but that's might be on a stretch. I wish we had Derek here today because he would be somebody that would maybe have an inside track on this because he's
He's a Boogaloo?
I don't know if he's a Boogaloo, but he's familiar with the politics of the Boogie Boys.
What is a Boogaloo anyway?
Dude, a Boogaloo, man.
What does that mean to you?
Look, Zach, let me tell you what it means to me is the Boogaloo Boys are a bunch of dudes that essentially, at bare bones, are anti-government, and they do not want tyranny setting in across the country. That's what
they're libertarians.
I would say they're libertarians, both left and right-leaning libertarians. Very minimal government, and maybe some of them border on anarchy. I'm not familiar with anyone that's actually in that movement.
Okay. And what's going on with this? The Williamson County Sheriff, Sheriff Chody.
Chody?
Yeah, because I mean.
What a name! What a name, right? Chody.
Well, I like the Williamson County DA. I've actually talked to the DA. We've actually had him on the radio show. I've actually had him come and talk at one of the events for one of my groups and stuff like that. And that guy's the real deal.
Chode?
No, the
Chody?
The district attorney, Mr. Dick. That's his last name. The DA.
Oh, okay.
See, you thought I was making a joke.
Yeah.
No, that is his name.
Sorry.
Yeah, so he's a real deal. He's actually a good guy.
Sean Dick.
Yeah, Sean Dick. He's a great guy. He believes in, if he brings charges against you, he actually believes that. I mean, he's the real deal. He is genuine. And so if that guy, if he decides to send something to the grand jury, he gets a conviction, his intentions are good. He's not doing it for a political gain. So they're trying to spin this like he's a bad guy. And I don't think this guy is the bad guy. This district attorney in Williamson County, Sean Dick, is not the bad guy. This guy has good intentions. So if he brought this case, if he brings a case against me, I got to look within myself and think, okay, I may have done something wrong here. So they're trying to pin him as the bad guy, and I don't think so. We're talking about Williamson County Sheriff Chody in this case that we were talking last week, which is the young man that actually was tased by the Williamson County Sheriff's Department and was Javier Ambler, and was actually killed, actually died from that. And the fact that all of a sudden now the Williamson County Sheriff is taunting the fact, Sheriff Chody is taunting the fact that, guess what? They have drones. They have all these drones in the county. Well, guess what? Did any of your drones actually record you tasing this guy to the point that he died?
Well,
I like to know that. Yeah.
It's a very there's discrepancies
Right.
all across the board on this.
And it doesn't matter if you're and I was upset about the fact that this guy ran. He didn't stop, by law enforcement. Yes, you need to stop. You need to comply. And I teach this in class. Something's going on. You don't like what police officers are doing. You can't debate it on the side of the road. You can't debate it there. You're not going to win your
hash
case.
it out in court.
That is right. You get an attorney and you take it to court. You comply. If an officer's going to arrest you, they're going to arrest you. You can't run. You can't hide. They're going to get you. They're going to get you. The best thing to do is to comply. Because guess what? You know who the system protects? The system protects law enforcement, doesn't protect individuals. And I had this conversation with someone, earlier.
Wait, hold on.
Go ahead.
The system also protects people.
No, it doesn't.
With money.
Yeah, that's true. If you have money, it protects you.
Hey, Casey, can you do the cha-ching sound next time?
Money.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the way it works.
So the
Show me the
system,
money.
the system is designed to protect police officers. In the words of W.E.B. Du Bois, a system cannot fail those it was never built to protect.
Yeah, well, that's where you get into qualified immunity and police unions and all that kind of stuff. But that we've kind of beaten a dead horse at that point because even conservatives and libertarians and liberals and I think everybody across the board pretty much is sort of fed up with that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's why people are protesting. That's why I'm not really beating up protesters that much because I understand. I get it.
Well, yeah, but when it becomes rioting is when it's bad.
But I get it.
You know, I had a conversation the other day with somebody and they were saying that the burning these businesses down is not that big of a deal because of insurance.
That's a big deal.
And I thought,
no.
what are you talking about? Like, there's deductibles. Insurance doesn't cover everything. Insurance is a scam in itself. We're not going to talk about that another time. But it takes years to build a business. You know that. And I also do a bunch of like freelance stuff.
Insurance companies do not always want to pay out.
They don't care about you.
No, they're
don't. Insurance companies.
I have insurance. And someone tried to break into our business. I end up paying for that cost. The insurance company did not pay for that.
And Michael, let me ask you.
The insurance company wanted all these documents. They wanted this. They wanted that. They wanted the 911, call copies of this and copies of the alarm
it
call.
takes time out of your day, and time is money. Time is money when you're a business owner.
I'm arguing with them right now, still today. That a little break-in
from months, all those months ago,
from June that was on the news. See, I'm arguing with my insurance company right now and trying to cover that.
And people have the tenacity, Zach, to say that. It's not that big of a deal to burn down somebody's business. I mean, some of these people are barely living paycheck to paycheck off their business anyways.
That's why the Texas law says if you're committing arson, doesn't matter if it's daytime or nighttime, you can use force of deadly force to stop someone.
Yeah.
So I advocate, go for it.
Yeah.
Burn it down. Do what you got to do. That's called arson in Texas, and we can use force of deadly force to stop you.
Hey, I have a clarifying question for you. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and they were curious if somebody is in your yard trespassing.
Your yard trespassing.
You cannot use
deadly force.
No, I'm sorry. In your yard trespassing with a gun.
They're trespassing, okay? So they're trespassing. Now, is it criminal trespass?
Now, if they're open carrying a long arm.
What's criminal trespass? Doesn't matter if they're open carrying a long arm. They can carry a long arm. So criminal trespass, you've asked them to leave. They refuse to leave. That's criminal trespass. You kind of have to call a police officer. Police officer shows up. You tell this person from the police officer to leave. They refuse to leave. That's criminal trespass. They leave and come back. That's criminal trespass. You can only use force. You cannot use deadly force.
Okay, so I was right. I was right about that. That's what I told him.
Now, if it's criminal mischief during the nighttime, then you can use deadly force for criminal mischief at night.
So that's when you can start taking pot shots with the 12 gauge.
Or theft at night. But what is nighttime?
30 minutes after sundown.
30 minutes before and 30 minutes after. You got it. That's right.
Passed the test.
You passed the test.
I just wanted to clarify that because I have had those people ask me those questions.
We come back from the break. We're going to have Edwin Walker on Texas U.S. Law Shield. We're going to talk about the NFA, the Honey Badger. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda Rights? Miranda Rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened,
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back, and we're going to talk about the militia member that actually was shot and killed by TV crew's security guard. What's that all? What's going on with that crap?
Okay, so this guy John Teagan set up a patriot muster, as it was called, and it was a bunch of right-wing militia groups in Denver, Colorado, having a rally. And towards the end of the day, there had been, there was a BLM counter protest set up nearby, and there was, some clashing, but nothing, from what I understand, nothing very violent, and nothing, no grievous, no grievous violence was committed until towards the end when people were leaving.
Mm-hmm.
There was I do not know the exact details, but I guess what happened here was that one of the members of the militia group that was involved with Patriot Muster had maced an NBC television crew's security guard, and the guy shot him in the head and killed him, and this was in broad daylight. And anyways, I want to clarify something that on the Facebook page we made a post, posting a story, and originally it was reported, and this is aggregate news, so we're reporting what we hear, and originally it was reported that it was a BLM counter protester that shot this guy, which was inaccurate. This was a television crew.
So the initial reports came out that it was BLM.
The initial reports were false. It was inaccurate. It was bad reporting. Yeah, and so there's this is yet another rally, though. Regardless of who's committing the shooting, this is yet another rally where someone like a militia member is killed, or Garrett Foster was killed here in Austin, or what have you. It's happening over and over and over, whether it's left, right, or center, or whatever the political.
That's because you get people that are carrying guns and they're not, they don't know what the laws are. They're not, up to date on their use of force and deadly force.
So,
you think that you can actually, you're driving on the interstate, someone's driving on the interstate, and you decide to block the roadway, you're going to jump on the interstate, like for instance what happened in Colorado, and you're going to start a protest by jumping on the interstate. Yeah, you have a First Amendment right, absolutely, but you're blocking a roadway. Now, because you're blocking a roadway, you can't all of a sudden just shoot at someone because they're driving on the interstate that you're blocking.
Well, here's my question. In this scenario, and I know I don't have all of the facts because I found out about this yesterday.
Okay.
The guy, the militia member who maced this guy, was he committing some sort of an assault there where it is reasonable for the security crew to shoot him dead?
So it's going to depend on the state. So like in Texas,
this is Colorado.
Okay, yeah. In Texas, if you perceive someone to, they're trying to kill you, if they're using aggravated kidnapping, murder, they're trying to kill you. So aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, aggravated robbery, you can use force, deadly force to stop them. So the question is, was this person trying to kill them? Did he reasonably believe they're trying to kill him? So that's in Texas. So I can't speak for Colorado.
So, how do you determine if somebody's reasonably trying to kill you? I mean, if somebody comes at you with their arms, or their hands or whatever, puts you in a headlock and tries to strangle you to death, you can kill that person?
Absolutely, yeah. They can choke you out and kill you. Absolutely.
So,
okay.
Right,
yeah, they absolutely. All right, our call-in number, not yet, is 512-643-5483. That's 512-643-5483. But I think we got Edwin Walker. Okay, so we're going to have Edwin Walker on here shortly. We're going to talk to him about this case that's going on with the honey badger. Definitely want to talk to him about that. Before we get to Edwin, before we get to our caller, I want to talk about, Derek Chauvin was released on a $1 million bail.
Derek Chauvin, that's the police officer who kneeled on George Floyd's back. He was just released from jail on $1 million bail.
Okay. What's up with the police officer in North Texas
who shot that guy who was breaking up a domestic dispute?
Yeah, and then they put him in a different jail, a different county. What's up with that? Yeah. So they arrested him. They put him in jail, but he's not in the jail of where it happened. He's actually in jail in a different county.
Well, it might have something to do with protective custody, maybe, because they think that he might get killed in that jail.
Oh, well, okay. So why do you need to be treated special?
Well, they do that with pedophiles and child molesters and rapists.
Do they?
Also,
I've never heard that before.
Well, have you ever been to jail?
No, I haven't.
I have.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I'm just saying, like, people can ask to be put in PC, and if they do, they get different treatment.
So you put him in solitary confinement or something like that?
It differs jail to jail, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about this honey badger, because the ATF, they actually sent a cease and desist letter to, the people that make the honey badger and said, hey, you need to stop what you're doing. Let's find out what's going on with that. Let's go to Edwin Walker with Texas and U.S. Law Shield. Edwin, you're on with Come and Talking, sir.
How you doing, Mike? Thanks for having me.
Hey, Edwin, what's going on with this? I have people calling me. People are in the shop today on a Sunday, bringing me their guns, say, hey, look at this. Do I have to turn this gun in too? It's similar to the honey badger. I have this Mossberg Shockwave, do I have to turn that in? I have this AR pistol, do I need to get rid of it because it's similar to the honey badger? So what's going on? What do we need to do here?
Well, I don't want to say anything that's going to send off a wave of panic.
The sky is falling.
The sky is falling, yes. But, this is exactly, you and I both know how long we've been talking about the stabilizing brace. And this looks like it goes, it's going to come down to the stabilizing brace, which the ATF has been, they were unclear, but then they were really clear. And they said, hey, if you use it as designed, you're A-OK. And then they said, even if you shoulder it, but you don't alter it, you're A-OK. And so now they have targeted a pistol, a specific pistol. This doesn't apply. They didn't make some sort of uniform ruling. They didn't go ahead and make a determination about all pistols that have stabilizing arm braces. The honey badger is specifically made with a stabilizing arm brace. Okay. So if you go and you buy one, it comes from the factory, you don't have to put one on it. It already comes that way. And so basically the ATF released they sent a very confusing letter to the manufacturer, which is a company called Q. And just kind of an interesting side note, Q is based in New Hampshire. They are a manufacturer based in New Hampshire. So while they are technically in the live free or die state, you have to, you may be interested to know that the ATF field office that oversees Q is based out of, guess what? Boston. So you can imagine that there are probably not many pro Second Amendment people who embrace development of firearms in the Boston field office. So they're the ones that they're the ones that sent the letter. They're the ones that kind of instigated this. Now, what is disturbing is that, and I've listened to a couple interviews with the guy who owns Q. And if people are looking up the letter, they'll see that it's addressed at the beginning of August. And so they may think to themselves, wow, it's been 60 days since they were told to do this, and now we're just now hearing about it.
Right.
Well, apparently the manufacturer, Q manufacturer, has been attempting since August to work with the ATF to figure out what specifically is wrong with the honey badger. What specifically are they talking about? Because they make mention of a couple different things. They mention the arm brace. They mention the length of the barrel. They mentioned the fact that the barrel is rifled. So they apparently have taken what they are terming and I'm using my air quotes, a holistic approach to looking at the weapon itself. And for some reason, out of all the pistols that look like or function like or are the same size as the Honey Badger, they have chosen to focus in on 3 weapons made by Q. So far, it's been the Honey Badger, but they also are looking at one manufactured by Q called the Minifix, and they're also looking at one manufactured by Q called the Sugar Weasel. I guess that's sort of a, obviously a play on the word Honey Badger, but that's what's going on now, and it is very concerning that they are taking this holistic look. But it is kind of reminiscent of the way that they looked at the Mossberg shockwave. And, fortunately, the ATF came down on the site of right, truth, and justice on the Mossberg shockwave, but apparently have not taken that same position with regard to this Honey Badger. And so, basically, what I would advise people is if somebody is in possession of the Honey Badger specifically, not a Honey Badger copy, not another firearm manufactured by a different maker, manufactured by SIG or Daniel Defense or Rock River, Springfield, anybody else who's making a similar firearm, that if they are in the position of the Honey Badger, that it probably, just to be on the safe side, go ahead, disassemble it, because it is not against the law to be in possession of the parts that make up a short barrel rifle. It is only illegal to be in possession of the short barrel rifle itself. And also keep in mind that they did not specifically pass judgment on the stabilizing brace. They're only looking at the stabilizing brace in terms of it being manufactured as part of the Honey Badger. And so I would say people who own stabilizing braces, don't freak out. If you own other firearms, don't freak out yet. And I say yet because this could very well be a camel's nose sort of thing. This is the camel's nose under the tent. So I guess the ATF is going to see how far they can get away with pushing Q around, which is a relatively small company, and that's probably why another reason they went after them, thinking that they would not have the will or the gumption or the resources to fight back that hard. Also, keep in mind, I know there will be quite a few people out there that will say, this is Trump's ATF, and they're going after guns again, sort of like they did with the, with the bump stock thing. But keep in mind at these ATF field offices and in the middle management, you're dealing with career bureaucrats. So these are people that have been members of the ATF way before Trump became president. But that being said, he certainly has the power to issue an executive order or get the Department of Justice to re-examine this, back off of this. And also just one other little nugget, I've been talking a while, that in the event that the ATF chooses to try to prosecute somebody, it's not going to be the ATF, it's the Department of Justice. And so the ATF is merely a police agency. They can make all the accusations they want. They can do all the investigation they want. But if the Department of Justice, if the U.S. attorneys look like they are going to embrace this position by the ATF, then yeah, we are in real trouble.
All right, so we're talking with Edwin Walker. He's a principal attorney with Texas U.S. Law Shield. We're talking about the Honey Badger. Talking about if you have a Honey Badger, you may want to take it apart. There's 2 little pins. Pop those pins out. Take it apart. Separate the upper from the lower. And then you're not in possession of an illegal firearm. But if you have other guns, they're not talking about those. They're talking about the Honey Badger. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief that there was an immediate threat of harm that would justify an act of force or deadly force.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Okay, we're back. We're talking about the honey badger with Texas U.S. Law Shield Principal Attorney Edwin Walker, talking about the company Q and how their honey badger, they actually receive a cease and desist order from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosive Division of the Department of Justice there to say, hey, stop making what you're making. So let's go to the phone lines. Our call-in number is 512-643-5483. That's 512-643-5483. Let's go to our caller, Matthew. Matthew, you're on Come and Talk It.
Hey, Mike.
All right.
How's it going?
All right. What's your question, Matthew?
So my question is for our wonderful attorney here. So I know Q is a maker of the honey badger, but are they the actual maker of the honey badger? Because if I remember correctly, it's Advanced Armament Corporation who is the original designer of said honey badger. And my question revolves around what happened with Black Ace Tactical a while back, where they were importing shotguns from Turkey that were 14 inches long, had the shockwave grip on them, and they were converting them and then selling them with a pistol brace. And they were told that by converting them, that was creating a short barrel shotgun for sales.
Hey, Edwin, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, that's a lot of very specific knowledge that I am not really
that's
aware
Matt.
of. But the letter was sent to Q. It only affects Q. It only affects people who have purchased the honey badger. And so currently Q is in negotiations, I guess, with the ATF. And I kind of want to go back to a point that I was attempting to make earlier. that the letter came out in August. Apparently, they have been trying to work with the ATF for the last 2 months to figure out what to do about redesigning the honey badger, what to do specifically about what information they are required to pass along to their customers who have purchased the honey badger. And of course, it's going to be an administrative nightmare if all of these individuals who have purchased the honey badger are faced with the choice of either submitting, I guess, retroactively a Form 4. I know that one of the points that I heard that they had discussed was allowing people who currently possess the honey badger to have them and basically grandfathered them in. And apparently that was a non-ish starter with the ATF. They were not going to have any of that. So if you do own a honey badger, you're going to have to submit a Form 4 to try to get the tax stamp. So I'm unaware about this specific Turkish shotgun that you're talking about, but
because the reason why is because I have a lot of people, and what they want to do is they want to buy the Mossberg Shockwave or the Remington 870 with the bird's head style shockwave grip, and then just go home and slap on a pistol brace, SBA pistol brace onto it. And to me personally, because of the way the law has stated that is a firearm only in that configuration, by altering it in any way, that would require a Form 1 for short barrel shotgun.
I agree with that inclination because of the unique place that the Mossberg Shockwave and its copycats kind of reside in, because that's kind of even though it is designed to be fired with both hands. It's a shotgun specifically because it's not designed to be fired from the shoulder. If the ATF were to say, "Look, you've attached this device, which we have previously said is okay. However, in this particular configuration, you have sufficiently redesigned." The thing about this is
and that's what happened to And I do apologize for interrupting, but that's exactly what happened to Black Ace Tactical. Is they were taking shotguns that were pre-configured with a bird's head grip, altering them with a pistol brace in their own workshops, and then selling them out. They got hit hard and were required to recall every single one. We had customers coming in with those.
Well, that's that may be what happens here, and I think that's one thing that Q was negotiating with the ATF, that they would be able to either provide the ATF with a list, a serial number list of the you have the pre-ban rifles, similar to whenever the 1994 assault weapons ban went into effect, that if the ATF had a list of honey badgers that were already out there on the market, that those would be exempt. But because obviously the last thing that Q wants to do, and it may be the financial burden may be so substantial that it may actually put them out of business, is having to recall and refund everybody who currently owns a honey badger. And so that's that would be a very devastating blow to them. And the thing about it is this is the sort of thing that the ATF would use as precedents. It would embolden them to go after bigger fish next time. And the thing about it is that, I don't want to turn this into the political, but we are a month away from the election. And this is exactly the type of stuff that not just the ATF would be capable of doing, but that certain politicians who are running on certain platforms that would say that certain rifles have to now retroactively have a $200 tax stamp in order to be legally possessed, that is expressly stated on certain politicians' websites, that if those people get into office, it will be extremely troubling, is a mild way to put it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because right now, as of the other thing that the ATF has always said is that a pin-well job on a 14.5-inch barrel with a 2 3/4 inch muzzle device will make a 16-inch overall length rifle. So will that be the next thing they go after? Is it my concern? Because I have a couple of those, or I used to have a couple of those.
Yeah, and that the thing about it is that that's what the anti-gun folks and the anti-gun members of the deep state, if I can go ahead and use a conspiracy term, what they have done is that instead of attacking the firearms directly, because they do realize that only Congress has the ability to, flat out prohibit or regulate the firearms themselves, is that they have turned their attention to firearms accessories, which clearly is aimed at the AR platform, because that's what the AR platform, that's one of its greatest features, is that it can be accessorized so extensively. And so these anti-gun folks say, well, if we can't go after the gun, we're going to go after the accessories. And so, we were able to do it pretty good with the bump stock. Now we're going to go after the stabilizing brace, and we're going to go after the binary trigger. We're going to go after the threaded barrel, and we're going to go after the large capacity magazines. And, so basically it's sort of death by 1,000 cuts, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
All right, awesome. All right. Any other questions you got for Edwin and Matt?
Let's see. Anything else I can think of? I think mostly it was just the pistol braces, the honey badger issue, and mostly, all that stuff.
All right, awesome.
But I wanted to do one thing, if you're okay with it, Mike, and go back to what you were talking about with the governor and the Boogaloo Boys.
Okay.
Most of them are very much in the idea of just leave us alone, let us do what we want. We don't really like the gov, but we won't complain as long as you don't get into our business. What the people who I guess wanted to get the governor out are not the same group of people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In my mind.
So there's different. That's a nasty little group there. Yeah.
It's just a nasty little group who's just decided, you know what, we hate these guys, and we're going to try to give them a bad look by trying to imitate them.
Okay. Yeah, because they're taking a step a little further there.
Mm-hmm. No, the only thing that the Boogaloo Boys will ever do is probably protest and say, you know what, if you come after us anyway, we're going to do something. They are not the progressive, we're going to do something first to cause all kinds of major havoc.
Okay. All right, awesome. All right, thank you, Matt.
No problem. Catch you later.
All righty. All right, so Edwin, well, not Edwin, but I want to ask you, Zach. Governor Abbott is leaving it up for the county judges to decide if bars can open. So I think this is a slick way that the governor is actually putting the county judges on the hook here. Because if he says, hey, let's leave it up to the county judge to decide whether or not a bar can open. If you do that and you're a bar, you're closed, and your county judge won't allow you to open, that rallies people to go vote to get this person put out of office. What do you think about that? So I think he's actually being pretty smart.
So you think he's trying to get the judges voted out?
Yeah, especially like Travis County. So
who's the judge in Travis County?
Well, the judge that's actually there in Travis County is actually running for state senator. So that person has actually resigned that seat. So it's an open seat. So that's, you're like, hey, that's a key point there. All right, we come back from the break. I'm going to go back to Edwin. I got some questions for Edwin Walker there at Texas U.S. Law Shield. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coley on Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02, The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about, what I want to talk about now is that the white settlement shooting. Because Edwin, I heard that Texas and U.S. Law Shield defended the instructor, the fire instructor that actually protected the church and stopped that shooter at the white settlement church. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes,
I didn't even tell you we were going to talk about this, but I heard that yesterday. I was in the LTC course, and the guys from Texas and U.S. Law Shield, they were doing their presentation in the class, said, hey, and I was talking about that shooting, and they said, hey, who defended that person? I said, no. They're like, we did. I was like, really? So, I'm going to ask Edwin that tomorrow. I'm not going to tell him. I'm just going to ask him on air.
Yes. We're very proud of the actions of Jack Wilson for protecting himself, the congregation there at the White Settlement Church of Christ. He is a Law Shield member. The afternoon that happened, I remember it very well. I was not working the hotline, but one of our great lawyers was working the hotline. He took the call, and one of the Dallas area lawyers was able to immediately respond, has been there, side by side with him the entire time. And, while many believe that it was probably a foregone conclusion that he would be no build, it was a formally, officially no build this past week or the week before.
And see, that's important because a lot of people think, look at that case there, that situation, that still had to go to a grand jury. He still had to have an attorney with him through that grand jury phase. And if he did not have an attorney, you're even if you're justified in your shooting, it's clearly justified. It still has to go to a grand jury, and you have to get it, no build, because that's, one that helps you. Well, that takes care of the criminal case, and it also helps you with the civil case. And it's going to cost you money if you don't have an attorney. And a lot of people don't understand that. that they think bullets are expensive right now. They think they're $1. Let me tell you.
Wait till you go to court.
If you can find it. But if you go to court, you know what? When you fire that gun, that's a $10,000 bullet. 10 grand is what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that of course, whenever the police respond to any type of shooting, even a shooting that does not wind up with an injured party or a deceased party, the police are still going to be there asking a bunch of questions, and so you have to know what to say, what not to say. You have to know, when to tell the police that you were defending yourself, defending someone else. Know exactly, what type of words the police are looking for, in which, a lot of people think that all they got to say is, I was defending my life, in which that's not it. There's a lot of, technical, nuance that goes into that, especially with regard to the establishment of the legal presumptions that, of course, everybody wants, or everybody should want, anytime they use either force or deadly force. So it does not even have to be a shooting. It can be just simply a situation where you had to show your gun, or a situation where you had to use your fist or another type of weapon. Any use of force or deadly force is going to be in large part affected by whether or not the police and ultimately the prosecutors agree or are persuaded that you should have the benefit of the legal presumption that your use of force or deadly force was reasonable. Right. And so that's what, instead of saying that, somebody attacked me, you should be specific about, did they invade a specific area like your home or your car? What did they do to make you think not just that they were going to injure you, but that they were going to give you serious bodily injury or perhaps death?
Now
you have to know to couch it in those terms.
Just to clarify and give perspective to people in case they forgot what case we're talking about, the White Settlement shooting was at a church, and a gunman entered the church through a back door, and this guy, Jack Wilson, shot him as he was about to kill somebody, right?
No, he had already shot and killed. He shot two individuals.
Okay.
Both of them ultimately died.
Okay, so he had already shot and killed two people, but essentially what I was trying to get at is that he prevented a mass shooting.
Yes, it was, and Jack Wilson is quite the marksman.
Yeah, that was what, 20 yards?
Yeah, he was able to shoot all the way across, a large portion of the church,
right?
Not hit anybody else, not put anybody in danger. I believe he shot one time.
Yes, it was one shot, and it was a headshot.
A headshot, yes. So Jack Wilson, obviously a fine individual. He's been honored and awarded by the governor. He, stopped a mass shooting because clearly the two individuals that sadly lost their lives that day were large men. He obviously targeted the individuals who he thought would be the greatest resistors, and put them out of commission first,
right.
So that he would just have a church full of weak targets.
Well, then that's why Jack Wilson had that concealed carry, right? He was an
instructor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a firearms instructor. I mean, he's obviously an ace marksman, and yes, he's an instructor. And I believe that one of the individuals who was killed was also part of the security team and was carrying a gun.
Wow. Okay.
Unfortunately, he was not able to get to his gun before. And the other man was I believe a deacon in the church, and so a very well liked, well honored man. And yeah, it's very
Edwin,
unfortunate those two men lost their lives.
We have found some.
Hold on, before you go there, I want to ask you, Edwin, criminal trespass. A lot of people are asking us, we're getting a lot of phone calls about, criminal trespass. I have these homeless people in my neighborhood that are, my house backs up to the green belt. Can I shoot and kill someone who's on my property? Because they're committing criminal trespass on my property.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about criminal trespass as well, because in large part, and it's very, very unfortunate, but we have seen just anecdotally that a lot of times the police do not like to enforce criminal trespass laws. And generally the people that are criminal trespassers are more of your vagrant type of individuals who just, even if they do get cited or taken to jail, they'll be right back. And criminal trespass is one of the very, very few crimes that the Texas Penal Code specifically says that you cannot use deadly force against a criminal trespasser. Now, every time we tell people this, who of course believe that the signs that say trespassers will be shot is good legal advice, they always respond with, "You're telling me that I got to let a criminal trespasser I got to let him break in my house and shoot my dog and rob my safe?" I'm like, no, that's not. They always take it to another level. Yes.
Yeah.
Criminal trespass is a very specific crime. Okay. It means that somebody is on your property when they have been given notice that they are not allowed to be on your property. Okay. They haven't entered a building. They haven't stolen anything. They haven't tried to destroy your property or key your car or anything else. They're simply on a piece of property where they have been given notice through many different types of ways they're not supposed to be there.
Okay,
so
what about this, Edwin?
Sign,
what if there is a, Antifa BLM protest marching through your neighborhood and they are open carrying long rifles and they, climb over your fence onto your yard?
Well, that is a Class A misdemeanor. Trespassing with a firearm is a Class A misdemeanor. Still criminal trespassing, though. And so you can use force. The penal code is very clear.
Like you could beat them with a pipe?
You probably could not beat them with a pipe. You probably could beat them with your fist, but not with a pipe. But the thing
got to settle things like men around here, Michael.
But keep in mind that circumstances can change instantaneously.
Right.
And so the penal code is very specific that you are allowed to use force.
Even if they have a
against
gun?
A trespasser. Even if they have a gun. Because they have a gun. Like I said, criminal trespass, normally Class B misdemeanor. With a gun, it's a Class A misdemeanor. And so it is a more heightened crime. But keep in mind that if they have a gun, how it is not difficult to imagine a circumstance whereby their act, after they are told, "Hey, you're a trespasser, get off my property," that it is not difficult to imagine that the circumstances would not evolve so that somebody could truthfully and legally describe the fact that gun was about to be used against them, thus constituting an attempted murder.
Understood.
All right. So, yeah, definitely come to class and we can tell you when you can, like the lady said that who was from England this week. She said, I just need to know when I can pop a cop. So this is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Brittany Glaze, and I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, "I invoke my right to remain silent," and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda Rights? Miranda Rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights, and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back. We're talking with Edwin Walker with Texas U.S. Law Shield. We're just, now we're just asking him some hard questions there. We're gonna just pot shot you a little bit there, Edwin. So we got some questions about Colorado.
Okay, Mr. Edwin Walker.
Yes.
How you doing, man? Okay, so
all right.
Are you familiar with the situation in Denver between the Patriot muster rally and the NBC television crew camera security guard? I'm sorry.
I've seen some of the videos.
So we have some photos that Casey's going to pull up here. They're up right now. And basically what happened here was it appears that there was a sort of an altercation between the security guard for NBC television crew and a member of the militia. And the militia member had mace ready, and then he gave a little left-handed slap to the security guard.
Oh, wow.
And after slapping him, he maced him, and the security guard shot him in the head and killed him. Is that reasonable? I don't know the legal jargon, but is that reasonable for this security guard to have done that?
Well, it certainly it's it's going to depend on what the security guard offers as his justification,
Right,
as
okay.
far as keep in mind that whenever a case goes to trial, it goes to trial obviously because both sides, the prosecution and the defense, thinks that they can convince the jury to agree with them. The defense, though, theoretically has an easier job because all they have to do is say that
Reasonable
the
doubt.
prosecution has to eliminate whenever the defense says it's self-defense, and the jury is presented with that in the jury instruction. It is the prosecutor has what we call the burden of persuasion. It's part of their burden of proof. They're all burden of proof, but they have the burden of persuasion to convince the jury beyond a reasonable doubt that there is no possible way that a reasonable person would view this as self-defense. And so imagine that you have just simply a list on a board, and the prosecution says these are the reasons that it's unreasonable. That the guy who got the deceased, didn't have a deadly weapon. He had a chemical weapon. He was, who engaged the contact? What were there any words that could be taken as a threat? And of course, on the other side, the defense will be arguing things like that the chemical dispensing device is in fact a deadly weapon. That basically it's an incapacitating weapon. And also keep in mind that across the board, whether it's Texas or Colorado or any other state, deadly force is not just force that will cause death or is reasonably likely to cause death, but it also includes injuries, serious bodily injuries. Okay, so any kind of injury that impedes a major life function.
Right.
Now, generally, this is meant, this is seen as a broken bones, deep lacerations,
like
punctured
stab
organs,
wounds and
punctured organs, things like that. Yes. And so I could imagine that one argument would be that obviously pepper spray is an incapacitating agent. And so if the goal is to incapacitate the individual, thus allowing the gun, because at that point it would cease to be the shooter's gun. It's now a gun that simply exists in the middle of this conflict. And so if the aggressive individual used an incapacitating agent to attempt to gain access to a deadly weapon and use it against the other individual, if that is seen as a reasonable belief, or more precisely, the prosecutors failed to eliminate the fact that a reasonable person would believe that that is a reasonable possibility, then, the defendant would be found not guilty in that respect.
All right, Edwin, give us some quick legal advice here on early voting. It's election day. Early voting starts Tuesday. Can I have a sword? Can I have can I take my gun? Inside the grocery store if there's a polling location there.
Yeah, a polling place is a place where you are not allowed to take a firearm, any firearm, a club, or a location prohibited knife. And so you could not take your sword, you could not take your club, you can't even take anything that would resemble a knife or a club, or a location restricted knife or club. So you couldn't say, this is my flag and I've got a flagpole. They're probably going to say, hey, that's a club, just leave it in your car. And also you cannot take a firearm. Generally, the area of the polling place that is looked at as the prohibited location, and keep in mind, all of these polling places are overseen by an individual called an election judge. And so the election judge basically is the ruler of that polling place. And so whatever that election judge says goes. And if the election judge picks up the phone and calls the police and says, there is a person here who I believe is violating Texas Penal Code 4603, that election judge's word is going to be gold. You can't argue with the election judge. So generally, the safest place is to have it in your car. You can have it in your car. Even if you're out at the polling locations, generally speaking, pardon me, the area that the election judge supervises is the area where they put those little signs up that say no electioneering past this point. And so be on the lookout for those, because if the election judge were to say, look, this guy had a gun, he came and he stood, he didn't come into the building, but he came through the area where I control, you probably would wind up getting arrested at that point and then have to fight it out in the court about whether or not that actually constituted the premises of the area or fell under an exception. And so you definitely would want to just, keep it in your car just to be safe. And so even if you're in an area that is normally not off limits, like you mentioned the grocery store, or I know that they occasionally have polling places in city halls and in churches, other areas. My polling place happens to be in a school, so I know that I definitely can't carry, in there. But if you're in an area where it's normally not a prohibited location, like I said, your best bet, your best argument about, I was just carrying in the grocery store. I didn't come here to vote. I didn't intend to vote. then just stay away from the cordoned off area where they have the poles set up.
Okay. And then my last question for you, Edwin, is on the 46035, unlawful carrying of a handgun by license holder, they mentioned they replaced churches, number 6 there, with something else. They actually replaced it with civil commitment facilities. What are those?
Civil commitment facilities are they're like mental hospitals, and that is actually kind of a change that they put in 4603 in the previous legislative session. Basically, instead of just limiting it to saying hospitals, you have these areas where an individual is detained against their will, and they have these facilities, and it's not like a prison in that they're not technically being punished, but yet they are. Civil commitment facilities are also used for sex offenders, where you can there is it may surprise a lot of people, but there is a law in the state of Texas that says that even after a sex offender finishes their punishment, let's say they get sentenced to 25 years in prison, they serve all 25 years, they don't get paroled early, they are done with their sentence. The state of Texas still has the ability to go in and say and prove to a judge that this person is still a threat to the community, and so the judge can actually have them recommitted to a facility, and it's considered to be a civil commitment. Therefore, they're not subject to the same due process protections as a criminal sentence.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Man, thank you, Edwin. I appreciate that. All right. So, as always, you definitely give us insight into what's going on. You update us on what the laws are. And Jackie says, that's why I'm a member of Texas Law Shield. I'm going to remain silent until they show up. That's right. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Dial 911 first, then call your attorney. You might even get Edwin Walker. Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you, Jackie.
All right. Awesome. All right, Edwin, you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yes, Michael, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. It's always great to share these Sunday afternoons with you. And you and your whole crew have a great day as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin.
All right. So, man, I'd say it's crazy what's going on.
Edwin's a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy, great lawyer.
He knows too much.
Oh, man. Why do you say that?
He just knows everything.
He just knows too much.
He knows the penal code by heart.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, he's an impressive person. I didn't want to take it there, but you guys did.
All right, so I tell you what, next week I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I do want you to remember this. People ask me about what are my thoughts about Breonna Taylor case and what's going with that. My thoughts on Breonna Taylor case is the system is designed to protect police officers so it's not designed to protect you. In the words of W.E.B. Du Bois, a system cannot fail those it was never built to protect. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.